Hi, I'm Felix Gaedtke. I'm a co-founder at Now Here.
And I am Gayatri Parameswaran. I'm the other co-founder at Now Here Media. And we are an immersive storytelling studio that's based in Berlin. And today we are here to speak about something that we've been trying to do over the last 3 years, that is to create immersive impact. And we will kind of go through the practical sort of to-dos of how we did that using a case study of one of our recent projects, Home After War. So when I was young, growing up in India, I grew up in a household where I grew up together with my grandmother. She lived with us. And every night she would tell me stories before I went to bed. And some of these stories I haven't heard in about 25 years, but they're still with me. I remember the narratives, I remember some of the scenes as she described them. And I think some of you might also have a similar experience where there are certain stories that live within you and that you take with you for the whole of your lives. And at Now Here Media, we do really believe in the power of stories to transform.
Yeah, so we are specialized in immersive storytelling in the realm of documentary and journalism. So we both have a background in journalism and documentary filmmaking and focus mainly on topics of human rights, social justice, as well as environmental topics.
And if I could click further, I would. So of course we cannot do it without the support of some of our incredible partners who go on this, risky journey together with us. And some of them are media innovation funders, some of them are tech companies, and some of them are nonprofits and non-governmental organizations. And if we could, today, actually, as I said, we're going to talk about Home After War. And before we get down to some of the details of how we planned out our impact trajectory, maybe it makes sense to have a look at the trailer. Could we please play the trailer?
You know, our house is our home. When ISIS came here, I heard fighting between them and the security forces. Bombs were falling from planes. We took the car and fled. We said that we are going home, even if that meant we had to live on the rubble, because we were fed up with being strangers. We heard that there were houses where the electricity was booby-trapped. If you see a bomb, you would usually recognize it. But this stuff is new. They were my wings.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thanks.
So just to start from the beginning, this project started out as part of the Oculus VR for Good program, which is a program that matches filmmakers with NGOs. And at the time, we were matched with GICHD, which is the Geneva International Center for Humanitarian Demining. So an NGO that works globally on the issue of mines and IEDs. So IEDs are improvised explosive devices. Sometimes we have to explain that. And we were matched with them, and for us, it was really interesting also because we both worked in Iraq as well as Syria before, and we kind of narrowed down on the issue of booby-trapped houses, and that's something that's more prevalent in Iraq and Syria than other places. And to give an overview of the story, so a lot of the refugees are now returning back to areas that were under ISIS control until recently, and often their coming home is connected to fear of booby-trapped houses. And we found this as creatives really interesting because for most of us, the feeling of coming home is a feeling of security and comfort. And for these people, it's really an ambivalent feeling. It's something where, of course, they're very happy to come home after having been in a refugee camp for many years or something similar. But if you don't know if your house is safe, that gives a bitter taste to it. And this was the issue we wanted to focus on.
And as soon as we started working on the project, we said, okay, we have to kind of, see in what areas we want to kind of push our impact. And we narrowed down on 3 main sort of different areas that we wanted to do that. One of them was, of course, how do we push storytelling forward in a topic that is so heavy, with an issue that is so important. The second thing was, how can we make people aware, like the general public aware of an issue such as this that exists? And thirdly, can we really push policies? Can we speak through the piece to lawmakers and policymakers and see if they can make change happen?
Yeah, so working in Iraq got a lot of logistical challenges for us, and that started way before we got there in terms of getting the right permits and the right visa to access. So Fallujah lays in Anbar province, which is where ISIS was founded and started, so there's still sleeper cells, so the access is really restricted, and it took us a long time to get the right permits. We were very lucky to have a great local production team in Iraq who helped us with that. And but on the ground, can you click the next? On the ground, I think what really made our work really, really difficult was the kind of equipment we were using. So the thing is that we were staying in Baghdad and working in Fallujah, which is a 2-hour drive, it wouldn't be for the checkpoints. And if you travel through a checkpoint with equipment like this, and you have to explain a lot of Iraqi security personnel what you're doing here, that was very challenging at times and took a lot of time. Yeah.
And the first half of our stay in Iraq, we spent doing research in terms of meeting families that had been affected by the issue of improvised explosive devices or booby traps. And this was a particularly difficult process because a lot of the times, such as in this photo, we're meeting a family, the woman at the front, she lost 2 of her close family members just 2 weeks before we got there. And the family was definitely struck by grief. And we realized that that wasn't the time for us to stay there and stick around and do our research, but instead just pay our condolences and leave. So as storytellers and as documentary creators, it became also very, very important for us to kind of sense when was it the time to stay and do our job as documentary creators, and when was the time to leave, as just, knowing the human side of things. This is also the process. This is also the time when we met in the first 5 days that we were there. We also met Amaid and his family, who ended up then participating in our project as the main protagonists, and the family who did the project together with us. And Amaid lost 2 of his sons in an ID accident in their neighborhood, and we are incredibly grateful to him and his family to that they wanted to participate in our project.
So since we knew that the space was such an important part of the story because it's the house and people coming home, we really wanted to work with photogrammetry to allow our audience to really walk through a house in Fallujah, and we did that. With photogrammetry, we were very happy to work with
Can we pull the second video, please?
Yeah. Work with realities.io as our photogrammetry partner. But I'm sure a lot of you already know, but this is a photogrammetry scan, and each of these white dots is a photo I took in the house. So it's a lot of photos of the house in order to recreate the house later in a model like this. You can walk through, so you get some ideas. And one of the challenging things with working with photogrammetry in that context was to really explain people what we are doing. Also our protagonist, Gayatri already mentioned him, he was great and really open to allow us to work with him. But for us, it's really important that they also understand what we are doing. But that is very difficult with photogrammetry. We actually made the mistake of only bringing a gear VR, not a full headset that he could really understand what we were doing. So we basically showed him 360 videos, which doesn't explain exactly what we were doing. And since it's such a big ask to come to someone's house and say like, hey, I need to be in your living room alone for 40 minutes and take photos, it's kind of, it was a big ask, and we were very lucky that they gave us that kind of access and we could do that. And yeah, we also worked with stereo capture in terms of filming Amaid and the protagonist against the green screen. So for us, a proper volumetric scan would have been too expensive and logistically not possible in Fallujah. So we considered working with the depth kit, which for us was like the look for this particular story wouldn't have been right. So yeah, we worked with a stereo camera rig against the green screen and then could him later place in the house, so he leads you through the house. And so we were able to do that way.
And at the end of it, we premiered the experience at the Venice Biennale in August, September of this year. And to complement the virtual reality piece of it, we also built a multi-sensorial installation around it, together with our installation partners, Trix.space, who are also based in Berlin. So the idea was to let audiences or users walk into the physical space of the courtyard. So we rebuilt or replicated a part of the space that you find in the virtual experience, and then not true to scale, but true in fractions in terms of details. So the audiences enter the bullet-ridden gate, the actual bullet-ridden gate. And that's the same bullet-ridden gate that you find in the experience later on. And there were also some haptic elements, such as the floor shaking when an explosion takes place in the experience. And we also played with smell. So when you experience the explosion in the VR experience, you also smell the explosives. And this, we thought, created a lot of impact with our audiences, because it wasn't just something that happened in the headset. When they took off the headset, they were still in that space, and it really connected them to the real reality from the virtual reality.
Yeah, so one big challenge was to work with so many different diverse teams. I think in total there were around 25 people working on this. And the main issue for us was always to really find a common language, so that the people working on the development side understand what's going on, as well as our production crew in Iraq, and really, yeah, find the common language across all these different.
It's funny, whenever we pull this photo, everyone takes this slide. Everyone takes pictures. Yes. So for us, it was really important to reach our audiences. We defined. Sorry, this was, if you want to speak about it.
Oh, good, you can also take. No, for us, it was important to have two different sets of audiences we wanted to reach. On the one hand, the decision makers who actually can make a difference for these people on the ground. So we are happy that we can show the piece as an installation at the UN in 10 days, I think, at a big mine action convention, where they will decide how much money will be allocated to mine, demining and these kind of operations. And on the other hand, of course, we do want to raise awareness and also reach a larger audience with that piece. And that has been, we have been happy to be selected for several film festivals as well as museums.
And finally, without taking too long, and this is an embarrassing part where we have to sing our own praise, but you know, for us to measure impact, it was really hard to measure it quantitatively, because it's hard to reach many number of people with our work. So we started doing a qualitative analysis of what people who judge art and film and impact thought about our work. So for instance, Anna Abrams at the iFilm Museum says a warning, use only with a tear-proof VR headset, and she calls it kind of poetic, the experience. Michel at the Venice VR, this is a huge compliment to us. He said this is a very deeply effective work that brings empathy to its highest level. And an audience member, when we talk about raising awareness, it's really important for us to also show that people who didn't know about the issue, you know, find out about the work. And that's where he says, I didn't know about this issue at all, and now I've experienced what's going on from very close quarters. And that's a very important part of the work we do. And finally, we were able to show the experience at an event of the Swiss Defense Ministry, where we can really push for a change at a policy level. And it's important for us if they recognize the work we do and recommend the work that we do. So that was kind of a break-up of our journey, of how we wanted to create impact and how we are kind of successful, perhaps. And if you have any questions, we are around here until the evening, and please don't shy away from writing us an email if you need to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and do go check the work
Yes.
at the exhibition.
Yeah.
Is this on? It's not on, and now it's on. So what I was saying is, do check their work at the exhibition space, don't forget. Is our next speaker here? Sarah, are you there? No. Yes! I was looking for you. So please, come closer. Our next speaker, Cyril Tuschi. He's an award-winning filmmaker turned VR enthusiast and entrepreneur. His company, YouVR, is creating a unique VR content ecosystem called VONDERLAND, which builds a bridge between film, multi-sensory, and multi-person VR experiences. We want to hear all about it.
Thank you very much. I made it. You know, you're very elegant. I'm out of breath because I just saw the talk of Sean Stewart of Magic Leap, and that's phenomenal. It's really, if you can turn your home space into a stage and your life into a stage, it's absolutely, that's the reason why I changed my life. I'm out of breath because it was so breathtaking. And after this hype of 4 years of Magic Leap, only hype videos, to see something real, it's beautiful. And that's the reason why I changed after 20 years of film production and directing, why I changed my whole life. I was 3 years ago, by the invitation by the Goethe Institute and Medium Board, I was in Hong Kong writing a script about immortality. I did 10 years I did documentaries before fiction, Kafka, but 10 years of political documentaries out of ideas to make a fiction film, but then life was much more tough and real than all my fiction, kitschy fiction. I did 2 films about Khodorkovsky and 1 documentary about a whistleblower and hacker. And I wanted to do it the other way around. I wanted to make a documentary about all the billionaires who have everything except eternal life. And in the end, I decided, no, the last 10%, I have to do science fiction because sadly enough, it doesn't work yet. If you try to stop the cells from dying, in the end, it becomes cancer. So I wrote a script in Hong Kong because the idea was when you start research in Berlin that the health ministry says, no, don't make these tests with human beings. And all the churches, all the religions say, no, don't play God. And so the scientists have to go undercover to Hong Kong. And there in Hong Kong, I saw that everything what we see only on conventions like here or in universities and labs, that they scale it like hell. That really they make arcades, that was 3 years ago, and put it in the market and have many factories to have, we have kind of like 3 headsets here, they had already 30. And I was so thrilled by this opportunity. And the next step was, I'm still out of breath because of the Magic Leap guy, wow. Second was FMX. A friend of mine, I studied film in Ludwigsburg. And my friend, she did animation, she's a musician. We went together into a world, it was like a Blade Runner platform, flying over. And it was very cheesy avatar. We had full avatar, and here a tracker, and we had sunglasses in the avatar because we didn't have eye tracking. It was cheesy, but I remembered that I said, I get this posture of her. It's her, it's a human being, it's not an AI character. And due to the fact that I had a witness with me in this strange world, the strange, weird world was less strange. And that was my point. Shit. This Magic Leap guy is really phenomenal. It's really, I'm thrilled now. So this, thank you. The strange world with a witness is not anymore as strange, and that's when I fell in love with multiplayer social VR and multisensory VR, because having a real body is really hard. Even the Void guys, when you are the Star Wars stormtrooper, when you are 4 people on board of the ship, you see the others, they have a full body. When you look down to your feet, they're cut off. And the reason is it's still very hard to have full body tracking. But if you are on a kind of like this, in real, but you look down, it's 500 meters, that's thrilling when you have a feet you can really actually see. That's why we did a, oh, that's the team. That's why we did a, we did an awesome medium board supported a multisensory stage in Berlin Mitte. We didn't win, but Ubisoft won yesterday, which is cool. Now we have a team in Berlin, and one just opened an office in Shanghai and a content developer in LA, because I think it's important when you adapt film IP for walkable films, you need to start already on the script level. We have only one German in the team. Oh, Moritz Loos. He's working here. And really cool guys. And what we're working on is, job-wise, of course, all the investors on the banks, they say, hey, you need a product, you need a fucking product, not a project. But you need to live off something, so we do projects. And we look for an investor, or we look for some money to work on an engine, because what is hard for us to develop, what is the aim? To streamline the import of games and films into multisensory stages where you can start at home with your like Magic Leap or just your phone, and continue the adventure on location with senses and friends, where you can kind of like Pokemon Go, you get lured out of home and you are even provoked to turn off your phone and meet your friends on location, be it a cinema or a shopping mall. And we want to develop this engine which kind of like enables the IP owner to port more easily than it's now their IP into these multisensory worlds. Like an SDK in the studio, you can simulate all the effects we are employing, like wind, heat, scent generator, vibrating, full body avatars. Yeah, what so at the moment we are also, of course, after 2 years of frenetically saying, no, I don't do brands, we don't do stuff, we only do storytelling, we found out that the film industry is a bit fearful to do so, because even the cinema industry is also still quite fearful because it costs so much money, you need information. And now we're doing also jobs for like car company or training, everything where it's clear that you save money when you employ this virtual reality or AR, compared, for example, like a cave costs 10 million and VR really just a bracket. That's why we open up now a company with friends in Shanghai, because there's, I mean, for example, China is already market leading in education in VR, and for kind of like training, virtual retail and location-based entertainment is one thing, but this is the smallest at the moment, even though it's big. And brand experience centers, like you go in there with 4 people in a car, on a virtual car, and you simulate a drive in a self-driving car and simulate the safety features in the car. And a city showroom where you can also kind of like show the qualities and the products of the city is one project, and one is a brand experience center in Shanghai. But that's the thing what we have to do to survive, because we all see, 2 years ago, everybody thought it would go like this, but it doesn't. So we still push on extending storytelling from linear to story worlds. And that's what, I mean, of course, with products and with education, you also need story worlds, not to fall asleep. And that's why it's the thing what we're building is the same, actually. That's what I said. It's with the software platform beneath that we kind of like talk to IP owners to do it. is a software platform which helps us and the IP owners and the operators to more quickly use it and employ it. Because studios, they of course we talked about it today. Hologate is a big difference, a big kind of like from Munich. We already have 120 small scale stages, and now the studios are more open because it's about scale, which is of course cynical to only think about scaling, but it's the money makes the world go around, and we have to think about how to save our soul. And not let this chance just slip. But I think it's a matter of time, and so we have to stick to it and just survive this nuclear winter after this super hype 2 years ago. What I dream of and what Sean of Magic Leap totally confirmed is, as soon as you enter or let the virtual world enter your life and personalize it, everything what you do will be stronger, and the story you will embark on will be very emotional and stronger. That's why the idea is to start at home, either with the AR-kit-based small adventure or Magic Leap when you get the Rolls-Royce next year. It's not that Rolls-Royce, but it's beautiful. So, but if you have something where you can invite some story or education in your home, then personalize it. And then go into the train and even change your avatar, and then meet friends on location, be it in the cinema or the shopping mall, and having, for example, you build here a small castle in pink, and you can look inside. It's all virtual. You do it. It takes you 3 hours. Then you save it. You go to the Wonderland stage or whatever. I don't care. I'm against closed platforms. We should open it, and then you invite all your friends. And 4 friends come in, and the castle is this high, and you can walk in, but you know you did it, and your friends you saw it because you sent it to them while you were in the train, and that's what I really love. And all the stuff you cannot have at home, of course. You don't have the space, you don't have the wind, the heat, the sense, and that's really what you're working on at the moment. That's the stage, yeah. So you can see it's. We did it in two months last winter, and the idea was to have a small stage and to have the idea was also to get rid of the technology of the body, so no gloves, and to get superpowers. And the last level was the beach because it was winter, so you can sit and the heat is coming to your face, and you can even have a drink in VR. And the thing we asked us for that prototype was that we don't want to teleport, but we had a metal kind of frame, and for like science fiction topics, you can go, and then the elevator is moving you up and down with vibration. For Alice in Wonderland, what we had, there's a mirror, and when you solve a riddle, you go over there into the other world, and you're in the 33rd floor. Then you next riddle, you go in a cave and you find a magic flower you can smell, and then you go to the beach and have a drink. And that was the idea on 5 by 5 meter to show that it's possible. So again, you can start at home, tweak your avatar, and meet your friends on location. That's the plan. Of course, it's clear it's always money, and this is expensive, so we try to find partners to automatize it, build ourselves the software that way that it makes it quicker. Find maybe a robot company, because if you have a tracked object and you take it from here and put it here, like in an escape room, assistant has to come in and bring the stuff back. So if a robot, it's not so expensive, takes it and brings it back, you don't need this person who does this repetitive stuff. For cinema, of course, you come in, projection mapping, coffee, themed drinks and food in the interzone, augmented reality, getting closer into the rabbit hole, and then you jump in full VR into the adventure. That's the plan, at least. And the idea is also that you're not closed out. For example, when you're in a coffee in the cinema, that the table is touchscreen. You can order your drink, play with yourself, with your friends. And you can interconnect with the people in VR. So it's more lucid and more open, the fiber. It's not always that you 4 people are in VR and shoot the aliens like the last 2 years. But you open up the door to people outside. Yeah. So the idea is also to standardize it, like Video 2000 and Beta, and that we have too many standards to maybe have 3 stages, and that we can interchange content. And that's it. And I would like to work with you if someone wants to join. Let's do something. Thanks. I'm still out of breath. Magic Leap is awesome.
Thank you. And now you're just making us all jealous because we didn't see it. Well, we have to kind of move a bit, keep the fast pace, but keep our breaths because we're a bit behind schedule. But I would like to welcome then our next speaker, Sylvius Lack. He's a researcher fellow at the Film University Babelsberg. He previously worked on numerous games and interactive projects and played an active role in fostering the next generation of interactive developers. Sylvius, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. So I think I got at least 6 minutes left, so I will do some sort of a glorified elevator pitch here. So do you have some remote, or doing this just like that? Okay, just very briefly, I'm part of an artistic, or better scientific artistic research project at the Film University in Babelsberg. And you see here, it's headed by Gaedtke, and it's based on the research which has been, thank you so much. And it's based on the research which has been done at the Humboldt University. And this research is called the Digital Forum Romanum. And our project here at Film University builds on this research, and we are funded by the ILB, the investment bank of the state of Brandenburg. So that's the Forum Romanum today. There's not much left, and what we are able to see is very chaotic and not very structured, but it's researched over and over again. And the interesting thing which we like to do is to show how we use real scientific data and put this into a virtual reality context to show how the old Forum Romanum would have been if you lived there. So the big challenge is to stick to the scientific data, to the proven and researched facts, but build upon that and build the idea of being there and living there. Most of the visuals I'm able to show you today are courtesy of the Humboldt University, because we are just starting out. The full team is just running since September, so we are in the way of starting. This is how we try to build this stuff. If you're digging in the ground, if you're going all over Italy and the Mediterranean, you will find stones that were brought from the old Forum Romanum to build new buildings everywhere. So I was a bit surprised, because I had no idea that there's still such a big question how the buildings really looked. Our researcher from the Humboldt University told us we could be sure something like 1.5 to 1 meter above ground. Everything above that is pure speculation. And so we are building this, a floor plan, and overlapped the diggings and the research which was done over the years. We overlapped this over the plan of Rome and try to figure out how did the Forum Romanum look during the time of Caesar. Because the time of Caesar is where we will stage our little modules, interactive modules, to show the daily life and the performance on the Forum Romanum. And we couldn't be, the big artistic challenge is to show where we are unsure. We won't do something like, hey, this is the Forum Romanum and just believe us. We have to show that we are unsure, because we want to build the whole idea between the proven scientific fact and the artistic interpretation, and to show the transformation from one to the other. So we have to show the process of reconstructing, and even show the process of our own imagination. And this is the biggest artistic challenge here. So the Forum Romanum at the time of Julius Caesar isn't digged out. What we have today at the Forum Romanum is the time of the big emperors, Augustus, but this is covered up. You have some parts where you say, oh, that's going back to the time of Caesar, but it's not all there, so we have a very limited data set. Okay, I hurry a bit because, yeah, 4.5 minutes, I got 6. Well, of course we have to use the ground. We are currently reconstructing the whole thing from the ground up. We got the data from Humboldt University. This is Rome, by the way. This is just the ground structure. And then the Humboldt University already did some reconstructions, but if you could see here, there are parts of this thing. Do you have a laser pointer? No, never mind. There are some vistas where there aren't any data. So in VR, you're looking to the east and there's nothing. And there's even no idea how it could have looked like, because there's no stones, nothing. So this is one of those vistas which really bogs us, because we don't have any data. And we need to construct something to make a full view, but we have to tell, really like storytelling, that we do not know, we are just imagining. So what we're doing also is we're doing 2 more things. We're doing audio, so we're doing a real acoustic reconstruction of the whole setup. This is from a seminar which was run last semester at the Film University. It's an acoustic reconstruction because, as you could imagine, it's a big space. It's not an amphitheater. It doesn't have a great acoustic, maybe. So the question is, if Cicero just held a speech on the forum, how many people could have heard him actually? So this is some sort of a research question, and a human being has like 19% of the acoustic resorption capabilities of an open window. So if there's a guy speaking there and the place is crowded, you will lose a lot of acoustic power. And so really we imagine we could answer those questions. If there's a rumble or a riot going on and someone's holding a speech, how many people could have actually heard him? So, and of course, we are using real humans. We just last week we did some shoots in the VoluCap studio, and this is our Cicero, and he's putting on a toga. I'm a bit scared how this great toga will look if you got the point cloud and took it in, and transformed it into real polygons. But well, we did that, and as you know, it's quite challenging because how do people act in VR? I don't know if anybody of you had worked with actors in VR. It's a funny thing because film actors are used to play for the camera, for the frame, and in VR there is no frame. So we used a real stage actor, a theater actor, because he's used to play in the room and not just for the frame. And that was quite interesting, that he really was able to fill the whole space and not just a frame, but the space. So this is what we're doing. I think I'm out of time. I got a little video because we like to use some. No, it's not working. Is there a on button? No. Anyway, of course we're doing some interactive stuff. We will start over with a little. Thank you so much. And this will be something like the entry scene. That will be our sort of 3D menu where you could just play fully put the Forum Romanum on this table, and afterwards you will be able to navigate using this 3D model of the Forum Romanum just to jump to the little interactive modules which are placed in the Forum Romanum. So, thank you so much. I'm happy to take any question if you have some time, but I think that's it. Thank you.
And thank you for trying to fit in the time restrictions. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our next speaker and last in this session, Eleni Kofekidou, did I say correctly? She's a master's student in digital media at the Technical University Brandenburg, where she learns everything she needs to build worlds via VR applications and audio design for spatial soundscapes. Eleni, we're looking forward to listening to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming, for being here at our presentation for Möbius. It's still not there, but it will be there soon, I guess. I see it already. Oh, great. So, Möbius, I think it's kind of a, I don't know, maybe you kind of wonder about what is Möbius? It's a strange name, I guess. Yeah, actually Möbius is, huh? That's the old presentation. That's totally the old presentation. Damn it. Okay, then we can also, no, it's totally different. Could you maybe put on the other presentation? That's what you have. Okay, so then we'll start with the group. Actually, Möbius is kind of a scientist, and he was August Ferdinand Möbius. There should be a picture of him with a funny Möbius band in front of his eyes. It's like a Möbius band is a strip of paper which you turn around and glue it together. And then it has this kind of perspective changing and never-endlessness. That's not exactly what we built, but we took the idea of repetitiveness and infinity, and we built this. Oh, it's totally different. Yeah, I know. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll do it without. So that's our group. They're sitting over there. That's Simon, and he was our coder. He did like instantly coding everything. It seems like that. And Dasha, she was modeling the whole night to do Möbius. And Martin Haferanke, he helped us out through dark times. And I did sound design and also modeling and Unity, the constellation. So what is Möbius? It's an interactive synesthetic sound experience. So it's very flashy, very bright, and you can play around with sound. That's the main idea. And the thing was, we had to do an architectural simulation, and we put it 1,000 years in the future, so it became kind of an, yeah, it's in space, and please play the video. So our strip ended like being a circle, and you can go around in this application and see all the rooms. It's like the idea about it is that we have a fantastic journey through 4 different worlds. We have first the space, and then also the inside of this room. And there are totally 3 different worlds, and you can see, go through and experience everything of it. So how did we realize it? First of all, we had Autodesk Smile. That's a 3D modeling software, and which they use normally. And fuck. I'm totally out because it's a wrong presentation. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's how it looks like. You have like vertices, so you can model all the objects, and then we used also Google Blocks because we have been just two modelers and we had many projects. So it's good to use other tools, not just the standard tools. For example, with Google Blocks, the good thing is you can model in VR. It's much more intuitive. For example, we've built the trees you see in the corner over there with Google Blocks. And it saves much of time, but at the same time, it's low poly, and you don't have this options you, of course, have in professional software. So it's still a toy, but if they continue working on it, they can do great VR modeling software out of it. And yeah, so, but you can still take those models you do, import them into Maya, and change them further on. Like here you can see an example of Google Blocks that are like really low poly. And then next we used also Tilt Brush, because what you can do painting in VR. So and use also nice shaders, which you can also import on other objects. And that makes it much, you can do other forms which you wouldn't be able to model that fast. So it's also nice to import all these tools inside. And then you have, of course, this kind of shiny effects, which you have because of the shaders and because of that you just painted it. So how was our auditive interaction? We have, in each room, we have one musical composition, which was made especially for Möbius. And you can interact inside these rooms with different flying objects, which have sounds on them, and they're in the same tonality as the main composition. So that means if you want to, even if you don't have this kind of, you think, I'm not such a musician, even if you still play with the sounds, something nice will come out of it, and you'll have fun. And the production was like you it was imported in Reaper, through MIDI, through our keyboard, and then you put it into Unity. That's how Reaper looks like. You have like different audio tracks, that's the main composition, and also the different sound snippets. But the thing is, after you produce the sound, you have to import it into Unity. And the bad thing about that is every kind of interaction has to be scripted. So everything is hard to do for a sound designer. You have to ask your coder, please, can you do this? Can you do that? And that's pretty annoying. So it's better to use some kind of middleware like Wise. It's hard to get into it, but after you have many more options to use for audio production. So now we come to the rooms. Wait. Yeah, there are different kinds of rooms. That's the inside of Möbius. Please, the video. Here you can hear also the interaction that's playing when you, and also objects light up and change the flying directions. Then we have the next room, that's the op art room, and you have like different kinds of materials which change the direction, the tilting and offset. If you interact with them, they just change the direction, and you get a new visual effect together with the sound that's exhibiting. So. And now comes Space Room. That's, I think, one of my favorite rooms, because it's not about the emission of melodies, but you have sounds which are shown. And they also change, like, with the distance you have, they change the pitch. So the nearer they come, then it will be like the sound will get higher. Yeah. I guess the presentation is off. So the sound will get higher. And yeah, so I guess now I have to think, how was the old presentation? Yeah, whatever. So if you are if you're interested in trying this out, we have it in the exhibition room. It's like behind the walking area to the left side. So you can always come over and also ask us about if you have any question about how we did that or any other kind of interest. Thank you very much.